Hello, Jay. Welcome to Galatta Plus. Always a pleasure to see you, though this time with a mustache.
Yeah.
It's sitting well on you, though.
You think so?
It's real, right?
It is real. Of course it's real.
It's okay.
It is real.
So, I don't know whether we are in the pandemic, post it, whatever situation we are in right now. There's this perception that of all the industries, the Telugu film industry is doing the best. I mean, of course, you have a Vikram from Tamil Nadu, you have a KGF from Karnataka.
Right.
But somehow there's this sense, this perception that the Telugu industry is like the one that's really, really soaring and flying and doing all these things. Is that your perception as well? And do you have a theory for why?
No, my perception is from wherever there's a good film, that point of time that industry is doing well. You just said KGF, it's turned out to be the biggest blockbuster in Indian cinema. And then of course we had an RRR, and so I think all the industries are contributing equally. The audience is receptive to content from wherever.
Right.
And if the content is good, they're open to films from any industry.
Where is your headspace now when you pick a film? Is it the same as before? Do you look for the same criteria, or are you in a slightly different zone where I know that, of course, you want to know about your role and your the story and the generic things. I'm not talking about the general things, but is there something else that you're looking for? Like, I want to give the audience a feel-good film, or I want to give audience something else. Is there something that's changed?
Yeah, I think for me a lot has changed in the recent months. The way when I'm listening to a script, I listen to a good script most of the time. But now if I cut a trailer to the script, will they come to the theater and watch it, or will they be happy watching it at home? Because I've noticed that a lot of good films, the audience is happy watching it at home also.
And this is a thought that's running through you as you read, as the script is being narrated.
In the last 4-5 months, this
Right.
is how I'm sort of like trying to strategize things, and my outlook towards the script, more than the character, more than the sensibilities, the director, all that, this has become a new angle that's attached to my thought process. Because I've been noticing that really well-made films, the audience is happy for some films watching it at home. There's nothing, they're not putting down the film or insulting it anyway. It's just that's how they've evolved post the pandemic. Priorities have changed. They've become comfortable. They've gotten used to the idea of consuming content at home. When a producer approaches me, with a script, with the director, I'm asking him, I'm very clear, like, do you want to release this for theatrical, or do you want to, go the OTT route? I don't like to go the theatrical route and somewhere switch to the OTT route. I think that's not right. Let's be clear from the beginning itself.
Right.
So yes, there is a huge shift in my thought process.
That you brought up OTT, you're doing a web series.
Right.
Like, it's horror.
Right.
And Vikram's directing it, the same director as Thank You, which we're going to talk about. There's something very interesting that you said that you can't sit through more than 5 minutes of horror. So this was a way of kind of putting yourself in that space. Right. So do you sometimes look at films as a sort of like a motivational, let's change myself kind of exercise?
No, I felt, when he narrated the script, and it's horror, of course, I can't watch horror for more than 5 minutes. I felt, let me bring that feeling to the character.
Oh, of being scared.
Yeah, of being scared. Because I play Sagar in Duta, and he's constantly chased by this supernatural element. So I know that feeling. I'm terrified by that feeling. So let me bring that to the character. So let that innocence sort of convey. That was my sort of challenge for Duta.
Now there are a lot of actors who look at OTT very differently. Some of them like willingly jump in. I think in the north, it's a little easier to get bigger stars into this space because of the roles or whatever. Like, when I say south, I mean the southern industries. There's a little more resistance because people feel that maybe this will undermine their theatrical value. Yeah, I mean, was there ever a thought in your mind when you listen to this particular web series? Like, I'm not talking about like doing an OTT movie, but as opposed to a series.
See, for me, how I look at the OTT whole game is, sometime back, actors were probably trying to do one film for each studio or each production house to sort of cover them all. Now the OTT players are there. I think 4-5 years from now, they're going to be equally strong. So I think as an actor, my priority would be to cover all the OTT spaces as well, all the players who are in the market, because I want to be, in that game. I want to be in that loop. I don't want to be late. And I don't feel there's the kind of exposure we get as an actor, because the world is watching your content. Right. That's the advantage we have with OTT. When they release it, it's world over. And as an actor, purely I'm looking for the maximum exposure for my work.
Right.
Because we work hard, we go through this entire process. I want everyone to appreciate it. I don't want it to be restricted.
Right.
So for me, it's an equal game. Film and OTT. There's no plus or minus for both.
Well, just to give you a devil's argument, I could also say that, let's say a love story, it releases in theaters. When it comes to OTT, it's again going to be seen by the world. So the exposure is still there.
Correct. You're right on that. But also as an actor, there's some things that I can't do for film when it's for theater, but I can do in the OTT space.
Right.
Like some kind of characters, there's a totally different beat when the audience sit in front of the TV and switch on a show. They're in a different mindset versus when they come to a theater and watch a film. I feel when you're watching the same actor in an OTT space and they're giving you something totally out of the box or something totally different, you sort of tend to accept it. But in a theater kind of a space, maybe the audience will be taken aback if you throw something completely new at them. I feel for me to grow, there is a different space to grow in the OTT kind of space.
Let's take a film like Uppena, right? It was a huge hit, but it was also like with newcomers, right? I don't think a star would willingly go and play such a role for obvious reasons, because audience has expectations of the star, and the ending is such that you wouldn't.
Yes.
Now, are you saying that you may be open to such a role on OTT?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So because the people watching are different, is that what it is?
Not watching are different. I feel the kind of composure, the kind of outlook they sort of start the show with, is they're in a very neutral space.
Right.
I feel they're in a very neutral space. They're open to accepting something new, and we can sort of set the mood and set the tone and take them through that journey. But in the theater, we have 2 or 2.5 hours to sort of engage them. We can't go longer than that because we probably lose their attention. Yeah, so the writing is different. How we conceptualize things are very different for theater. But in OTT, we have that breathing time to sort of explore the character completely.
So let's talk about Thank You. Why the title?
It's a film about saying thank you.
Gratitude.
Yeah, it's a film about gratitude. I play Abhiram in Thank You. We're going through his journey from the time he was in school till he's 35, 40, becomes this really successful startup millionaire, and how he achieves everything in life and then loses everything, and how he goes back on a journey to sort of figure out what went wrong and build himself back up again.
Yeah. Thank you to the journey.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, basically he just goes back and he sort of thinks he's like the self-made man, and
there are many people along the way.
Along the way that he sort of neglects or conveniently forgets, and just feels that he is in that place at that spot in his life because of purely his efforts. But then something happens where he loses everything, and he sort of realizes that his journey is not. It's because of so many people coming together and somewhere giving him that push.
I saw the teaser, and it looked a little different from what I would expect from a Vikram Kumar teaser. It looks like he's pushed him into a slightly different zone, a slightly more. Of course, he's done 24, and I love that movie. It's a sci-fi film, and it's he's done different things. But somehow when I see this teaser, it looks like a slightly dark zone. Am I right in assuming that?
No, it won't. It maybe the first 25-30 minutes of the film, where I feel in today's day and age, success can come overnight very easily because of the way the world is now, because of technology or many other factors. The graph of success is also the peak is very is very sharp, but the fall is also that sharp when you fall.
Right.
So that's what Abhiram experiences. So when the fall is happening, it goes into a slightly dark zone. And then how he comes out of it and realizes and sort of puts himself back on track.
So it is in Vikram zone.
Yeah, but I agree with you when you say it's slightly away from a typical Vikram Kumar kind of film.
Right.
It's usually he's got some supernatural element or some other factor apart from human emotions that's driving the script. Here it's only about human emotions. He's sort of played that card this time.
And what was it like coming together with him after Manam?
Oh, we've been constantly in touch wanting to do something. Duta actually was what we sort of worked on first, and then Thank You came into play. Obviously because of Amazon and the process, Duta sort of we started it after Thank You, but we've always had a great vibe, and we've always I really like his approach. I think he brings a really good side out of me as an actor, because when I did Manam also, I really got to explore some spaces that I couldn't. With the same thing happened with Thank You, and he brought PC Sir into the picture as well,
Right.
which was a great team. They work really well together,
Right.
Vikram and PC Sir. So overall, it was a great experience.
When you say different side of an actor, what do you mean? Like, can you give me an example?
See, some directors have a template they want you to play within. The character is very well defined in their head, and even the nuances, even the approach they want. So they sort of direct you in that direction. But Vikram's got the framework, but he also wants to see what you can bring to it. He allows you to sort of go out of what he's imagined, and if it plays out well, he has no problems keeping it. So that's the space I enjoy with Vikram. And also because we did a film together,
Right.
there was already a relationship built. So I think from that space, usually when you work with someone that you've worked with before and you're coming out of a success with them, the confidence levels are much different, and it's more like a friend. You can sort of beat them up, they beat you up, and good stuff comes out of it.
Yeah. And you mentioned P.C. Sriram. He shot one of your father's most iconic films.
Right.
So this is your first film with him.
Yes.
So what was that like?
Oh,
Did you guys exchange a lot of Geetanjali stories?
PC sir hates talking about the past. He's like, I hate it when someone says in that film I did it like this and that's why it became a success. He hates it. He lives for that film he's working on that day and the people around him that inspire him at that point of time. It's that specific script that inspires him at that point of time, which is something amazing from which I can take back from him, because usually we get carried away with our past successes and always use that as a reference point. But I mean, times change, people change. Of course, those are classics and they'll always stay with us. But that doesn't mean we try to structure every film around our previous successes. And I think that's where we sort of fail also, because those worked at that point of time where the audience, their mindset was something totally different. The situation was totally different, and we need to keep moving on. We need to evolve from that. We can't sit and hold on to those.
Yeah, I was talking to a cinematographer once, and he said, actually, I think we were discussing PC, and he said it was actually wonderful that those cinematographers came in that age, because the theater was the be-all and end-all of entertainment.
Right.
And when they lit up something, they lit it up like for the theater,
Right.
like when people used to go and watch it on a big screen.
Right.
But now I have to like light it up so that it looks good in a theater, but I also have to anticipate that it will look equally good on, not good as in beauty necessarily, but the way you light it up. That same effect I'm going to get on a much smaller screen or a laptop or a tablet or whatever it is,
Exactly.
So he said it's actually become much more complicated now to try to think of a visual palette or a color scheme or whatever.
Yes. It's a huge challenge, because I think PC sir and all of them have, like you said, they've seen film and they've now evolved to digital. Lighting up for film is very, very different from lighting up for digital. There you had to light up to expose the content, because the films, the way the negative work. But here it's not that. It's amazing that PC sir has seen both the worlds, and the kind of knowledge you can gain from him is brilliant. And he gives a lot of importance to actors' performance more than the lighting and the staging. For him, his inspiration for his process comes from the performances and from the script. So I really like that approach of PC sir.
Over the years, would you say you've gotten a fairly good idea of what will work at the box office? I know that it's a very unpredictable thing, but there is also something called an instinct which makes you accept a project, right?
Right.
Do you think you've gotten a little better at that?
I still don't know what will work at the box office, honestly. But I've gotten more aware of the scripts I'm accepting. I've become more aware of, at least, if the beats are in the right place, if the logics are going the right way, and if my character is making sense. At least these things I've sort of gotten aware of. But the result is something which it'll always be a mystery to me.
You practiced a lot of cricket for Majli. You practiced a lot of dancing for
Love Story.
Love Story. And is there any skill that you acquired for Thank You?
Hockey. Yeah, there's a college episode where I play hockey. So we did some training for about a month before we picked it up. There's a huge match, and the character, there's a conflict around the game as well. So for thank you, it was hockey.
So you're a proficient player now?
No, only for the camera.
So you pick your movies according to how I can self-improvement myself, kind of thing.
I mean, I don't know why, but yeah, sport has been a critical part of the last few films I've done. But every character influences me. The goods and the bads in the character I learned from. And like for Love Story, playing that character sort of rooted me and understand a lot of social problems and what they go through. So I think it grounded me a lot as a person. There was a lot of it stayed with me that way. So every film I do, the character definitely influences me in some way.
And this is interesting, right? Because it's almost a philosophical question that applies to not just to a rich startup billionaire or whatever you play in Thank You, but almost to anybody on the planet, because we all pass through life, and there are people that are play the function of stepping stones along the way, and whether you're rich, middle class, poor, whatever it is, there are times when they disappear from your life, and they become a distant memory, and you forget them. And now, like, and sometimes you really have to kind of, somebody has to remind you to kind of, oh right, there was that person at that point, and that thing happened. It's not that you're doing it because you're evil or something, but it's just that because life goes on.
Life goes
everyone's
on.
in a hurry, and like it just kind of happens. So it just struck me that it's a very universal thing, and not just a tech billionaire kind of thing.
No, that's the reason also why I think the producer, me and Vikram, we were all connected to the script immediately, because it's that simple word, thank you. We forget to say it in the most crucial times. We say it maybe otherwise at very normal situations, but when it's really needed, sometimes we forget to say it, because like you said, we get carried on with the purpose, and we're probably in today's world, we're sometimes moving too fast, where we don't take a minute to just pause and think and sort of recalibrate on things. So the essence of this film, the essence of this character is from that very reason, where he's moved so ahead in life really fast, got everything he's wanted, but somewhere he thinks that all this success is because of his hard work and only because of himself, and that he's a self-made man. But it's only when we're put in a circumstance where we sort of lose something that's close to us, or something really tragic happens that's unexpected, that we pause, take that minute and rethink and sort of reassess, and reality hits us. So it's that point that Abhiram's conflict starts in this film, Thank You, where he has to sort of go back and figure himself out and realize the real reason, to his success.
On the one hand, you have Bangaraju and Venki Mama. On the other hand, you have Love Story and Thank You, I'm assuming. Do you have such a thing as a comfort zone?
Yeah, I do actually. I do.
Okay.
I do have. My comfort is more realistic, more organic kind of roles, kind of narrative styles. That approach is of course my comfort zone, but we have a variety of audience. They like all kinds of cinema, and me as an actor, I want to cater to everyone. Of course I love art films, of course I love indie films, but I've consciously made that decision that I want to be able to cater to everyone, but in the most organic and realistic way possible, keeping all the logics intact and keeping some sensibilities that I align with.
But it must be kind of a little surreal and fun, right? To kind of push yourself into a larger than life zone that you're not in real life, and it's also not something that you look for in real life. Isn't there a bit of fun in that?
Yeah, there is a bit of fun. Like when I do a Bangaraju or when I do a Venki Mama, it's I need to switch off a certain side of me in a good way. I can't overthink things. That is an art by itself. To make commercial cinema, I feel, is way more difficult than making a realistic kind of
which is why I think so few actors are good at it.
Exactly. There's if you take a KGF, I loved it honestly, because they were true to what they were doing, and there's a reason why that's successful. It's not just not just out of nowhere. There's a lot of thought process that goes into it. I feel commercial cinema is way more challenging for me as an actor, than doing organic scripts, but this is my comfort zone, to be honest with you. I like to pick situations from my real life, from my experiences, from reality. I like to tell those stories. But yes, the audience, a part of the audience, a large section of the audience comes to the theatre to live beyond their reality.
So at this point, would it kind of make sense to put out word that I'm looking like scripts for like the RRR or KGF or whichever it is? I know those scripts don't come every day, but
Right.
I'm still looking at that larger than life sensibility. Do you put out the word, or do you just you don't?
No. If those happen, they happen. Like I work towards my path that I'm comfortable with, but somewhere along the line, if those come along, and if I'm able to strike a chord with it, yes, definitely I work towards it.
You haven't done a tragic role, right? I saw your grandfather's photo test. I'm remembering the classic Devadasu, and I'm like, have you died in any of your films? I'm trying to remember. I couldn't remember any offhand.
I've not died in any of my films. Manam I have actually died in Manam, but I'm reborn again.
Yeah,
correct. So apart from that, no.
Is that a deliberate thing that you choose non-tragedies? Like, should I use this interview to tell people, please give Naga Chaitanya a script where he dies in the end?
I want the audience to smile when they walk out of the theatre. I want them to walk out happy.
But there is this old producer logic that says that the more the people cry, the more the money in the bank. Is that no longer true?
No, of course it's true. If you stage it in the right way, of course it's true. If you can move the audience with tears, and they come out with happy tears or whatever, of course it's true. But I've not consciously sort of tweaked any role to make sure that I'm still alive at the end of the film. But I don't know, the stories that have come to me have been what they are, whatever you've seen. It's not like I've changed or tweaked that.
So by the end of Thank You, we will see you. You will be there.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. There's no question mark on that.
Venkat Prabhu said that the film that you're doing with him, you're playing a Tamil speaker.
Yes.
And is this the first time you're playing a non-Telugu speaker?
Yeah, we're shooting that film bilingual.
Right.
We're doing a straight Tamil and the Telugu. Both are the same screenplays, but we will be shooting for both languages. And we've cast that way also. Yeah, it is the first time. I did a small stint in Vinay Tandi. Apart from that, this is the full proper bilingual that I'll be attempting.
Like, I know you're very familiar with Madras and Tamil and all that, but is there still a bit of...
There is a bit of nervousness because it's a totally new audience that, I want to be accepted in. So I am nervous, and the language, as much as I've lived there for 18 years, it's still, I've come away and I've been living in Hyderabad all these years. So I need to go back and sort of familiarize myself with it again.
Your father, when he had in those days it was not called Pan India or anything like that, but he went and did a Khuda Gawa and as one of the Sri Devi's boyfriends, and he was in Telugu, he was in like in the Tamil film, so there was no real fuss made about it. But now that your that word Pan Indian is stuck in everybody's head, so when you're doing a Tamil film or when you're doing Lal Singh Chadda or whatever it is there a bit of a strategy happening where you're not?
Honestly, no. There's no strategy happening.
It just came your way again.
Lal Singh came my way. I was very fortunate. It was very organic. Same with Venkat Prabhu's. I'd watched Manadu. We had met much before that as well. And he had pitched something to me and we wanted to do it. Fortunately, we both felt the script is neutral to both the languages.
Right.
And he having the strength of the Tamil audience and he knowing that sensibility well, we both felt we should sort of put it out in both languages. But I'm not trying to strategize myself to be a pan-India star, or I feel pan-India will happen organically. You give the audience content and they relate to it, it will automatically become a pan-India film. Yeah, whatever came my way has been very organic.
So in a way, Thank You could become a pan-India film as well.
If people connect to it all over, of course it can.
But its primary release is in Telugu.
In Telugu.
You're not dubbing it in India?
No. Right now we're just focusing on Telugu.
Under the teaser of Thank You, among the top comments are best of luck from Mahesh Babu fans.
Okay.
So I'm assuming there's a reason for that.
Yeah, there was a small footage that was leaked from the making where I'm watching Mahesh Babu's film, Mahesh sir's film Pokri. Because the film travels through a certain timeline of this character Abhi from school to college to him becoming the successful startup billionaire. We wanted to use a layer of cinema in it as well, like how cinema has evolved. So
Right.
at different stages of his life too, so he starts off by being a pokery, watching pokery, and how he enjoys that film, to what is Mahesh's film in the next stage of his life. So we're just using that as a timeline in the script to make the narrative easier.
Right. So you play a Mahesh Babu fan in the film?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
In college,
Right, right.
like part of a Mahesh Babu fan club and all
Right.
that.
Yeah, Mahesh Babu began his career in 1999, and yours is exactly 10 years later, 2009, Josh, right?
Right,
It's like,
right.
so by the time you came in, he had moved to the next generation,
Right,
or like you,
right.
the newcomer was
Right,
you.
right.
Now you've spent little more than a decade in
Yes,
the
yes,
industry.
yes.
So there's a new bunch of like
Yes,
people coming
yes,
in.
yes.
So is there a sense of, I'm not saying complacency, but is there a sense of a little more, you're breathing a little more easy, you're a little more like, okay, a little secure. I'm like, okay, this foothold is there. You know, are you kind of feeling a little bit of seniority?
No, they make me sweat.
Yeah.
The newcomers
new
make
guys?
me, yeah, because there's so much talent. And it's honestly
But that's the same thing that Mahesh Babu might have said, right?
true,
Yeah.
but I'm not feeling a sense of calm, irrespective of how many years I've spent in the industry. I feel we are only as good as our last Friday release, So it's scary also. But it's at the same time it's challenging me in the right way, because to see the kind of talent that comes in every day, to see the kind of hard work they put in, and they are not scared to experiment or
Right.
try something new. I'll speak for myself at least. After all these years, there's a certain conditioning that we sort of adapt to subconsciously, and which that conditioning brings a certain amount of fear also, and a certain amount of restriction, which we need to consciously keep breaking.
You know, you're talking about the new generation and challenges, right? Now, like the big news when KGF came out was when the editor was just 19 years
Yes.
old or something like
Yes.
that. And there was like, my God, a 19-year-old did this. And I was like, actually, he did this because he's 19.
Right.
Because he's not thinking
Correct.
traditional editing rhythms,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Of course, Neil has a role to play in all that.
Right.
But he's thinking very video game. He's
Right.
thinking very, he's not thinking traditional editing, short, reaction shot,
True.
that the things
True.
that are there. So I'm totally getting kind of what you mean.
Yeah,
because
that's the space I'm coming from, because their perspective is very, very different. The kind of lifestyle they're exposed to, technology has become a very integral part of their life, and it influences them in many ways. Me personally, I'm very disconnected from technology. It's like how, if my dad calls me up tomorrow and says, listen, how do you use this in the Apple iPhone? I'm like, you don't even know that. But that's what the generation is thinking about us today. Like when I look back and they're talking about the metaverse and all these things, it's flying over my head. It's that gap that we have to bridge consciously. It doesn't mean we have to completely dive to their side, but I think we need to be aware of what all the generations, all the age groups are, what's interesting them, what's keeping them occupied, because we need to sort of translate that into the content we're making.
And finally, my favorite HR question: the next 10 years, what do you see it being for you?
I'm honestly quite clueless, because
You don't do a long-term strategizing thing.
the speed at which things are moving, in my mind I'm thinking, tomorrow will they even need me to come to set? Not tomorrow, maybe 10 years from now. Maybe there'll be an algorithm that builds itself around the actor, and it'll be completely computer generated, that we just need to probably go do a couple of days of shoot and they'll scan our body. I don't know, it's wild where at what pace things are moving at. For me now, my next goal, like I said, is of course theatrical market, and also I'm really intrigued by the OTT space because of the kind of content that's there and the kind of exposure. So it will be great if I could balance out both spaces. So short-term goals are these.
Yeah, but that's good, because you kind of become an early adopter among the stars, right? Because it's like, I don't see many people doing this yet. I mean, you find, for lack of a better word, mid-level or like, because that's an opportunity to make themselves more visible, but you don't find the very visible stars getting into this space. So that's really great that
Yeah.
you're putting yourself out there in terms of an OTT release and
Well, we'll only know once we try. So
Yeah.
I have to try. It's a gamble I'm taking, but I'm enjoying the process.
Right.
The outcome, I don't know what it is, but as an actor, I'm really enjoying the process, because I'm able to go to work and not have certain pressures, or not calculate backwards on certain things and just enjoy the process. And that's happening for me with the show in Amazon.
All the best for Thank You and for Doot and for the Venkat Prabhu film.
Thank you so much. Thanks.